Hello friends, welcome to my channel. So this video will be very helpful for you, as we'll be going through a complete data science project that you can include in your resume. So please don't fast forward or skip different sections of this video, as you may miss important points that can be asked in the interview when you'll add this project in the resume. So let's get started. So let me walk you through the project. So in this project, you work in the Spark funds. It's an asset management company, and this company want to make an investment in few companies, and the project is about, you want to understand the global trends in the investment, and then take the investment and then help the company to take an investment decisions effectively. So the business requirement is actually they want to make an investment between 5 to 15 million USD dollars per round of investment, and they want to invest only in English speaking countries. So that's about the business requirement. And the data source, we have actually downloaded the data from the Crunchbase, so it's a real-time data. So now let's understand the business objective. So first of all, the objective here is to find the best sector, best country that is suitable for the investment that this company is making. So this company is making 5 to 15 million dollars. So we need to make sure that that investment suits the best sector in the country. And the overall strategy is basically, we will select the best sector in the best country where the most investors are investing, so that way we get a trend from other companies where they're investing and use that strategy to make an investment. So this project is divided into 3 different sections. So first one is the investment type analysis. So in the investment type analysis, what we have to do is, so first of all, there are different types of fundings available. So let's understand these types of funding. So seed and angel funding refers to early stage startups, whereas venture funding occurs after seed or angel funding and involves relatively higher amount of investment. And private equity type investment are associated with much larger companies and involve much higher investment than venture types. So startups which have grown in a scale may also receive private equity funding. So this means that if a company has reached to the venture stage, it have already passed the angel or the seed funding. So the company that you're working, the Spark funds, wants to choose one of these 4 type of investment for each of their potential investment. So that's your first goal. The second goal is the country analysis. So now Spark funds want to invest in the country with highest amount of funding for the chosen investment type. So that means like where the other countries already invested with the higher amount, so we will be considering those countries only. So that's the second goal. And the third is the sector analysis. So what we are doing here is, so when we say the sectors are referred to, there are 8 main sectors. So and there is a file called mapping file where all these sectors exist. So these mapping file have the category list, like such as 3D printing technologies, and so all these are mapped to a main sector called manufacturing. So we will be going more deep once we'll go through the code and the file. So for some companies, the category list is the list of multiple subsectors, and they are separated by a vertical bar. So when you will look at those companies, they have 4 and 5 sectors, and all of them are separated by a vertical bar. So we will look at the data as well. So as a part of business rule, so what basically the requirement is, you take the first string in the vertical bar to be considered as the primary sector, and rest you can ignore. So you need to extract the first sector from that whole 4 sectors that are there in the company category list. So that also we'll be doing while writing the code. So this is the third specific requirement. So now to summarize is you need to make an investment 5 to 15 million USD dollars, and you need to first of all uh, select the right type of investment, whether it's a venture, seed, angel or equity, and then you need to select the right country where most of the investment already done, and then you need to select the right sector also from list of category list. So that's all about the requirement of this project. Now let's jump into the code right away. So for this project, I'll be using Google Colab. So it allows you to write and execute Python code through the browser. Very simple tool and very, very powerful. So I have three files actually: companies.csv, mapping, and round. So I'll walk you through each of these files. So what I have done is I have uploaded this file in the going through the folder here, and then just upload these files. So I'll also add this file, upload this file in the GitHub so you can download it when you'll work on this project. So let's start with writing the code. So I have imported some libraries: NumPys, Pandas, Matplot, Seaborn. I already created lots of videos on this, so please go through that. So what I'm doing here is I'm importing first round 2 and companies. So companies give the list of all the companies that are actually went through different fundings and based on different category list, and round 2 is actually gives the rotation of these companies when some companies went through the first round and the second round. So it contains all those company list and what all different types of funding they received. And here what I'm doing here is I'm doing the ISO 8859 encoding. So basically this is character encoding. So quickly, character encoding basically maps the characters and the bytes. So when we import these files, so what we do is we give what type of encoding we have to do. So like there are UTF-8, UTF-16, UTF-32. So these are different types of mapping between the character and the byte. So, and then here I'm using ISO 8859. So this is some sort of ASCII, the American Standard Code of character mapping. So it used the 8 bytes. So basically, for mapping each of the character, it is using the single byte, 8 bits. You can read more about it. So, but yeah, let's go through this quickly. So let's upload this. Let's use the Panda read CSV method for loading this file, and I have used rounds and companies as a variable. So let's look at the first 5 records of the round data frame. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and it's saying like what all the different rounds it went through, what type of round type, and when it got funded, and what was the raised amounts. And there is some NA, so there are some empty values also. We have to do some cleanup, seems like here. And let's look at the structure of this file, this data frame. So it contains 114949 entries, and it has 6 columns, and all of them are object data type. So they are, and then this is the float 64. So the shape is giving the number of rows and the columns. Now let's explore the company's data frame. So this also have the permanent link. So seems like this is a common column between both of them, and then it's a name and the URL. So seems like a category list as we were talking about, and then status, country code, so which country this represents, and then state code, region, and then funded at, so when it got funded. So this contains all the list of the companies. So when you get actually any of the file, you need to explore the data first so that you understand the data, because once you understand the data, then you would be able to clean up the data and look which all columns are meaningful for you, and then which all columns you can just throw it away. So that way, so let's explore more on this data frame. So if we see, it has 6636 entries, and then it has 10 columns, and then
So it gives you the shape. So in order to get the info about the data frame, we use info method, and in order to look at the number of rows in the column, we are using the shape property. It's not a method, shape property, so there is no bracket. And then the same way we looked at rounds also. So now we need to merge both of these two data frames together, but in order to merge it, we need to find a key. So as I mentioned, the perm link and the company perm link seems to be a key. So let's see, first of all, if they have a unique value, or if there are some distinct value. There may be, because round two have some multiple countries, because some companies went through multiple rounds. So, but you can take up the unique companies from that data frame. So in order to do that, we can use the unique method. So you have to give the data frame name and dot the column name and the unique method. And to get the length, I'm just using the len. So it seems 66368 is the unique companies, and it might have some lowercase or uppercase. So some will be capital, some will be small. So let's convert all of them to the lowercase. So in order to do that, you can use the string dot lower method. So so first of all, uh, in order to change the whole column to a lowercase, you have to give the data frame, and then inside the square brackets give the column name, and and so this is basically that this column I need to execute my command, and then what I want to do is the convert all the values of this column to a lowercase. So let's run this. So seems like now all should be converted to a lowercase. Let's see if we get any difference here. Okay, so there is no difference. Seems like all were on in the lowercase. Now let's check in the rounds data frame. So company perm link, the same thing. We will check how many unique values. So 90,247. That's a lot of values. So seems like they both are not matching. So a lot of companies exist in round two are not in companies. So let's see. Maybe there may be some capital versus smaller characters issue. So we'll run the same command here for company permanent link and see what changes we get. Okay, now let's check the unique again. So 66370, so pretty close. So seems like two companies exist in the round data frame that are not in the company's data frame. Let's check that out. Which are those companies? So in order to do that, so first thing is let me walk you through this whole command. So what I'm doing here is I already have a video on data frame, like how to pull up the different rows and columns. So what I'm doing here is, let's go through one by one. So this is a round data frame, and I'm looking for this specific column in the round data frame, and I'm checking dot is in that whether this value exists in company's permanent link column. So this will give me that which exists in this, and here I'm using a special character, so that helps to make it not. So what this will happen is, it will go and loop through each values and make it first of all, it will make it true. So it will make it the rows true or false. It will return the boolean value, and if I'm making it not, so what it will do is, it will return all the values that doesn't match. So here it will go for match, and as soon as I'll add this special character, it becomes a not, and it will look for that doesn't match. And then what I'm doing here is .loc will pull all those records, because now inside this there would be boolean values. All the rows, those are boolean, and then true or false, and it will pull up all those which are true. And then the comma, so this is rows, and after that comma, the colon, so that says give me all the columns. So if I run this, what will happen? Let's see. Okay, so seems like these are the values that exist, and there are some special characters seems to be. Yeah, so this seems to be an encoding issue. So what I did is I browsed this how to actually remove the special characters. So when we are importing the file, so I found out in the Stack Overflow that if you see these sort of special characters, so this is the code you can use it. So what they are doing is they are looking for encode and then they are again decoding it to ASCII and then so I followed the same approach for removing the special characters. So what I did is in the company permanent link, I followed the same code, and then after running that, I'm running the same code again to see whether these companies exist or not. So, okay, so now it seems the special characters are removed. So let's check the unique value again. So when I run the unique value, so 66368, great, wonderful. So now this was the companies were also having 66368, and now the rounds are also 66368. So now let's run the other way around. So what we will check is the companies exist in the company's data frame that are not in the round data frame. So using the same code. So okay, so now let's run the same code for removing the special characters in the companies as well. So let me remove that. So now run the same again. Okay, perfect. So that means all the companies, uh, so there is no country that exists in the country and that doesn't exist in the round. So that's what we want. So now it looks like we can merge these easily. So what I'm doing here is, so now as this data frame is clean, so we can use 2CSV to store these files into our system. So let me run this clean data frame into the CSV file. Okay, so as soon as it runs, so let's go and check it. So yeah, now you can see both of them are downloaded in our collab. Okay, so now what we will do is we will treat the missing values that exist in these data frames. So in order to check, so there is a method called isNull. And then what this will return is it will return whether there is a null value in that specific column or not. And if there is a value, then it will return as 1. If there is no value, it return at 0. And what it will do is if I add sum method, then it will sum up all those values. So for an example, if we go here, so there is an NaN. So what it will do is this will return 0, this will return 0, and this will return 1. This will return 0, this will return 1. So after the sum method, it will add all of them together, and then these 0 will not be counted, and how many NaN, that means null, it all will be added up and it will show for that specific column. So that's what happening here. So let me run this. So now you can see that permanent link has 0. That means there is no null value. Name is 1. So it will show like, okay, how many null values are there by adding all of them together. So, and the similar way we can check in rounds data frame as well. Okay, so round data frame have these two columns have a lot of null values. So let's we can clean this up together. So instead of cleaning this, so first of all, let's merge these data frames. In order to merge it, there is a pandas method called merge. So what we have to do is just define the data frame names. So the data frame here is companies, and then I'm merging it with rounds, and then there is a attribute called how. So this has values inners and outer, and there are some others. So inner actually use the intersection of the keys for both the data frames, similar like we have with the SQL inner joins. And then when it find that these keys exist in both, then it will only pull that record and merge it. And then what we are doing is left on attribute that use from the company's permalink, and on the rounds use the company permalink. And then we merge both of them and create a new data frame called master. So let's run this. So now a new data frame is created. So now what it's both are added actually side by side. So now all the different columns are added from companies and rounds, and you can see now this company permalink and permalink. So both are also there, and these are uh, the company's data frame, and this is the rounds data frame. So now this is a duplicate column. So what we can do here is we need to take that off also. So we can use the data frame dot columns property to look at all the columns. So these are the columns exist. So let's drop the company permalink. It's duplicate. So for that, there is a method called data frame dot drop, and then here I can define 1, 2, 3, how many. So I'm just defining as a list one value, and then axis one is I want to drop column wise. So it dropped the whole column. So now let's look at the columns again. So now this should be gone. So let's say company permalink, and now it's not there. So it's deleted. Now let's look at the null values again using this null not sum. So now you can see there are bunch of null values. So let's display that as a percentage. So what we can do here is, so this gives the null value for each column, and then we can divide it by, so master.index give actually that how many values are there in the whole data frame, and the length will actually count the number of rows and then give you as a number. So we are dividing this and then we are multiplying it to, so this will give the number, and then we multiply it to get the percentage, and we are rounding off by 2. So that way we can display the percentage. So let's run this. So clearly the column funding round code is useless with about 73% missing values. And also for the business objective given, the columns homepage URL, founded at, state code, region, city are not used. So we can just drop these columns. So we will use the same drop method and give all the columns name, and we will drop that. And now all these columns are dropped. Now let's look at the percentage again. So now the column raised amount is an important column, since this is the number we want to analyze, compare, mean, sum, etc. So this should be very carefully treated. So also the column country code will be used for the country-wise analysis, and category list will be used to merge the data frame when we'll work on the main categories. So let's see how we will deal first with the missing values in the raised amount USD. So let's look at the stats for this raised amount. So there is a method called describe, so that help you to give the whole stats of the data frame. So you can see the count of this, and then mean, standard deviation, minimum, 25%, percentile 50, 75 max. So this gives a pretty good numerical analysis of the whole this column. So we can see that the mean is somewhere around like 10 million, while the medium is around 1 million, and the min max values is also far apart. The minimum is 0, and the maximum is going close to, I think, 20 million. So in general, since there is a huge spread of funding amount, so it will be inappropriate to impute such as mean or medium. We cannot do, because there is the values are spread all over. So in that case, we take a call to actually just drop those rows. So in order to drop, so we are using a numpy method called isNaN. So what we will be doing is isNaN, and then so basically wherever there is a null value in the raised amount, so and then what it's a not basically. So I'm saying wherever there is a null value, after when I say not, so that means where there is a non-null, so give all those values from the master data frame and then update the master data frame. And after that, I'm again calculating the percentage. So let me run that again. So now seems like this is now 0, and we have country code and country list. So now let's look at the distribution of country code. So it's best to convert them into the category. So I'm using AS type to change that into the category. So let's see the value count. So there is a method called value count that helps to give the value of each of the category in the country code. So most of the value seems to be USA. So let's see the fraction also. So if we run this, so 65 percentage. So so now we can either delete the rows having the country code. So now by looking at the value count, so either we can delete the rows or we can impute by USA. So since the number is 6%, that is quite small, so it's better to remove the values instead of just imputing by USA. So we take the call of removing that. So for the categorical, we are using the pandas. So there is a method called isNull. So isNull and then giving the country code, and again is a not. So that just give me wherever there is a non-null and update the master data frame. And then let's see the fraction again. So after that, pretty smooth, and then we have only country list available. So now the fraction of missing values is only 0.65 in the category list. So we can take the call to remove those as well. That's a very small number. Okay, now it looks much better. Now there is all non-null values. So now this our data frame is ready. So let's do export this in the CSV file as a clean file so that we can use that also later. So I'll use to CSV method of the data frame, and then let's see how many rows we have deleted after doing this all data cleanup activity. So almost 77% are retained, and then around 23% is deleted. So that's not a big number. So now let's go through over the specific requirement or the goals we were having. So the first goal was finding the right funding type. So as the requirement was, we have to filter down only the 4 types of funding: venture, angel, seed, and private equity. So what we will be doing here is we will first of all take the rows only for these type of funding and then drop all the other rows. So what I'm doing here is, as we stored this master DF in our collab, so let's see how we can reuse that again. So this is our master DF. So now I am storing that in DF variable data frame. So now let's read this, and encoding will be used as same. Okay, so now let's remove. So now what I'm doing here is, in that data frame, I'm giving the condition. The first condition is venture or angel. So all those 4 different conditions, and then update the data frame. So let's run this. And by the way, we have covered all of these in a different video, how the data frame, how you can split the data in the data frame. So you please visit that video also in case you need to know more about it. So now what we will be doing is we have to represent value of the funding type of each type of investment. So we can either choose the mean or the median. So let's look at the distribution by having the box plot. So we'll be using the Seaborn box plot method for this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling the raised amount, and then let's run this. So the reason for showing that in the log scale, so let me first remove this why I'm doing in the log scale. So if I just run this, what happens is you can see the values is all over the places, and then it's going to 2 million to, so that's why we are not able to see that clearly, because there is a huge difference between the values. So in order to see the box plot, when there is a huge difference between the values, it's you can change that to the log scale. So that's why I'm changing it to the log scale. Now you would be able to see that, okay, what is happening here. So so now you can see where exactly the median is, and then so this is the median, and what is the spread of the values, and so there are some outliers, and then this is 75 percentile, this is 25 percentile, this is 50. So you can easily see the box plot. Now we can use the describe also to get some more details in the number. So this is again the same representation. So now by looking at this, there is a significant difference between the mean and the median. So mean is going around like 9.5 million, and the median is around 2 million. So let's compare the stats across these four categories. So what we can do is we can create the box plot for x-axis as a round type and y as the raised amount. So similarly, we'll plot that in the log scale. So this is pretty beautiful. Now you can see like we have venture and the seed and private equity and angel. So all of the different round type and what are the raised amount. It is pretty clearly visible here. And now we can take some better decision which one actually works for us. So we can actually compare that also for by creating a pivot table. So pivot table actually how it works is you can which value I want to create and then column. So let me and then median and the mean. So let me run this and show you what result comes out. So what it is doing here is like these are the values I have, and then it's grouping it by funding round type, and then it's aggregating the values by mean and median. So now if I look at the median, so these are the values of different the round type, and for mean these are the different values. So now if you will look at here is there is a large difference between the mean and the median for all the four types. So for an example, there is the for private equity, it's 20 million is the median, and the mean is going to be 70 million. So there is a huge difference. So in this situation, when there is a huge difference between the mean and the median, so we always go for choose to go for median. So since there is a quite few extreme values that are pulling the mean towards them, so that's why when we look at it here, there are lots of some values that are pulling the mean actually above, and that's why there is a difference. So in that case, we always go for median. So now let's group by the funding type and the raised amount. So we use the group by methods of data frame, and then we look at the median, and then so that because we decided median, we will go for the median, and then we sort those values. So if I sort it here, so now you can clearly see that. So now the private equity has the maximum that goes to 20 million, but as per the requirement, the Spark funds, the range is 5 to 15 million. So for that specific use case, the venture is our best round type because it is 5 million. So it's the best suitable for us, and the average amount for angel and seed type are lower than our range. So then we cannot go for this. So this actually conclude the first requirement that which funding type we should go for if the company is planning to invest between 5 to 15 million. So the answer is the venture funding type. So now let's go to the second requirement where we have to check that which country actually suits better for this use case when we have to go for venture. And then we have to go through each of this country, and the top countries where the most investment is done by other companies, we will filter down those and we will select those countries for our investment. So first we will pull all the rows where the round type is venture, and then drop all the other rows. So then this is the method. So you just go and give equal to, and then what we are doing after here is we will group by the country code and the raised amount. So we are again using the group by and then sort by descending order. So let's run this. So now you can clearly see these are the different countries, and the US has maximum funding, and then China, and then Great Britain, and then India. So let's look at the top 9 to filter down. So I'll start with semicolon until 9. So it says start with the leftmost and then stop at 9. So these are the top 9 countries. So now among these 9 countries, USA, Great Britain, and India are the top 3 English-speaking countries. So then this will be our top 3 countries for making the selection that the investment round type will be venture, and these 3 countries we will be doing the investment. So now we can filter our data frame for only these three countries. So let's filter that down. Okay, and then let's check the data frame also, how it is looking like. So there is an info method for that. So now it has 33803 entries. So lots of rows are dropped and then 8 columns. So let's see the box plot also, country code versus the raised amount. So that gives some distribution of the fund amount across the countries. So this is the India fund amount going from maybe I think yeah 10, so 6.5 to maybe 7.3 something, and then similarly USA. So pretty close the funding amount is, but yeah, India's is going little above the USA in the funding. But yeah, the box is bigger in US, so that means they have lots of fundings. So that concludes the second requirement. So now we have selected the countries also. Now we will come to the final requirement, that sector. We have to select the sector. So in order to select, we need to extract the main sector using the country list category, and the country list column contains some values like uh, this biotechnical healthcare, and these bio. So that is the category list, and there is a main category that comes as a biotechnology. So that actually exists in our other files. So let's look at those again. And also there was one other point was the category list. There are multiple category lists, and those are split by the special character. So as mentioned in the requirement, that we have to take the first one and just drop the rest of the one. So then that will become our primary sector. So we will be using the apply method for this. So what we are doing here is we are telling this data frame apply this, and then apply, we are using the lambda function. Again, there is a video for lambda function as well. So take each value. So this is our iterator. So this is my iterator. Take each values from this category list and then split it by the special character and take the 0th value out of it, and then store that in the main category. So there is a new column created, main category, and then so this is the column, and then pull all the rows. So let's extract the main category. So now there is a main category, so that has all the different categories. And then now we don't require this country category list. So let's take that out. Okay, so now let's read the mapping CSV file, the third file we have. Okay, so now you can see this is the category list. So you can see these are the category list and these are the different sectors. So we have to find out which sector actually is best when we are going for the top 3 countries and the venture investment funding type. So also we can see there is a null value also. So let's check first of all, there is how many null values. So there is only one null value. So we can quickly drop it off using the pandas is null method. So let's run this out, and then now there is no null values. So again, what we have to do is, as this will be our primary key, the category list in this one, and also in the main category. So what we have to do here is let's first of all convert both of them to the lowercase so that there shouldn't be any confusion when we are merging these. So okay, now let's look at the column again. So seems like fine. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to first of all check whether the values in the main category column which are not present in the category column list in the mapping file. So similar way we did for rounds and the countries, we'll be doing is in the mapping. So let's see if this is clean enough. Okay, so there are and then let's check the other way around also. So if you will look carefully, you will notice something fishy. So there are some sectors named like alternative and this A0, like some weird name. So This is not a random this quality issue, but rather there is a pattern. And in some string, the NA seems like in some string the NA is replaced by 0. And this is where maybe someone is trying to replace NA value with 0 and ended up doing something. So let's treat this problem by replacing 0 by NA, and then we will run and check the is in again. So again, using the apply and then lambda function, and then replace 0 by NA. So it will go use the lambda function and take one by one value and replace with NA. So let's run this. Okay. So now this is the category list. So now let's merge both of them together. So now it seems that is gone. So now we can do a merging and then, okay, so now let's merge those together. We already saw like using the inner to find the same keys. Okay, so now both are merged. So now we can drop the category list. This seems to be redundant. So let's remove the category list. And then let's check the data frame again. So since there are total 18 columns and these are the columns and 3, 8, 7, 7, 8 entries. Okay, so now here comes the one important part here is we have to convert this data frame. So if you will look at the data frame here, so basically this piece, so this is called a wide data frame and we have to convert that into the long data frame. So what it is saying here is for the media category, these values are all zeros and only entertainment is 1. So we have to convert this data frame from long format to the wide format. So first we will store. So let me first show you how it can be done and then you will understand. So this is done by pandas method called melt. So what melt will be doing is it will create another column and then it will take, so let's say there is, so let me run the code and then we'll show you quickly. So let me run this one. Okay. And then let me run this. Yeah, so now you can see there is a variable column created. And what it is doing here is, so now there is an automotive sports. So what it is doing here is, so this one new column will be created and it will take all these values and then it will add one by one all these values to that specific column. So it will be adding automotive sports and then blanks and then this. So all these value one by one will be added. So this white will become long. So all these value one by one will be added. And then along with the first row and then second, and then it will keep on adding this row until it reach to the end of this. So we defined actually two different variable here. So how we do that is using the melt. So what is happening here, it's taking the data frame. So this is the data frame and then it is taking the ID variables. So what this attribute tells you is that keep these list. So keep these columns as it is, whatever the list in this, keep it as it is. So what we are doing here is, so we are defining the data columns from 9 to 18 because we need to drop off from 9 to 18. So after the main category. So we are saying this is our value variable. So take all these columns and create a value for this. And then ID variable. So what I'm telling here is whatever the leftover, just keep those columns in the data frame. So don't drop those. So what is happening here is whatever the after the value variable columns are left in the data frame column, so that will be stored in the ID variable. So after from 9 to 18, whatever the other left, so from 0 to main category, so all these will come into this. So that's what we have printed, both of them. So now I'm saying that ID variables, keep them, and value variables, just drop those and add those values in a new variable called variable. So these values are added here one by one. So so now what we have to do here is, first of all, we have to drop off this value column because what it's doing is it's adding the values also of these. So it's adding this as a one row and then adding the value of this and then second value of this, third value of this, fourth value of this. But we want to store only the entertainment here, because wherever the value is one, we only want those. The rest we don't want, because this main category sector is not actually included. Doesn't These other values doesn't come into this sector. Only the entertainment come into the media. So we need to drop off wherever the value is zero. So that's what we are doing it here is from the long data frame. We are first of all only taking the value one and dropping off the value also. So let me run this. So I hope you got an idea about the melt function, but yeah, please go read more about it. It's a very important function when you want to convert the wide data frame to the long data frame. So now let's rename this variable to a sector. So we will use that rename pandas data frame method. So now let's look at the info, how it looks like. So now we have 10 columns, and then we have 3, 8, 7, 7, 8 entries. So now the data frame contains venture type investment in countries USA, India, and Great Britain, and we have mapped each company to one of the 8 main sectors. So now we can compute sector-wise number and amount of investment in these countries. So what I'm doing here is I will filter down from 5 million to 15 million, the raised amount. So that's our main requirement of funding range. And now I'm group by the country code and sector, and then I'll aggregate the raised amount by count and sum. So I'm doing first this group and then the second level of grouping. So it will do first this level of grouping and the second level, and then the values of raised amount it will aggregate. So let's run this. Okay, so pretty good. So now this is our first grouping and the second grouping sector, and then it added the count and the sum. So let's visualize this by plot as well. So I have created a bar plot, different x-axis, y-axis, and then I have given the title and then doing some rotations to the labels also. So, and this is like the rows and the columns. So it says 2, 1. So first row and the second, first column and the second. So this is rows and columns. So this has 2 actually plots, and then this is row 1 and the column 1, and then second plot, row 1, column 2. So it will go column wise, both it will show together. So one is based on, okay, this looks pretty good and beautiful. Actually, it's quite impressive and then easy to analyze as well by looking at compared to this one. So this is our first. So what it is doing, it's based on so it's showing the sector and the raised amount, and then here what it is showing is the count of the sector. So we can easily see here that which sector actually the raised amount, and also we can look at the count as well. So if you will look at the top countries in terms of number of investment, it is the USA, you can see. So this is all the blue one comes down to the USA, and the sector other is, and the social finance, and the third one is if we go to this clean tech semiconductor. So these are most heavily invested one. So it's pretty easy to analyze by looking at it. And if you want to just take out the other, then the third one will become news, search, and messaging. And the second graph shows the count, that the count of the, like, how many investment is done on these countries. So that also the US has top list, but we are most looking for the investment amount. So it gives the clear picture by looking at this graph. So this summarized this whole project, and now I hope you got a good idea about this project and good hold, and then just to go through this video a lot of time, multiple times, and then try to capture a lot of details, and then make your own notes also, because when you will write in your resume, like this whole data analysis you did for this big data crunch from the Crunchbase, and then went through different different parts like data cleansing, and then went through how to analyze the data by looking at different graphs, group by, and merge lots of different columns. So a lot of things you learned on this video. So go through it multiple times, read it along with the pandas and other documentation, and go through my other videos also that explain like what all different commands we have written in this. You can understand them as well. And after going through this, then include this project in your resume as your research project that you did, or basically you can add more details that from where you got this all this data, and then uh, get a good. And then after going through multiple times this video, I'm sure you will get some good confidence on this project. When you will be going through an interview, you would be easily able to explain about this project. So so I hope now this video is very, very helpful for you. So please at least subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, because that gives me a pretty good signal that you actually like this video, and I'll keep uploading these sort of projects and more knowledge for you to learn. So happy learning, and thanks for watching.